Welcoming guys to the NFL recap for Week 3, and we start off with a Thursday game. It was the Steelers versus the Browns. The Browns got the win 17-29. I did like the Brissett and Cooper Kupp chemistry, especially that fourth quarter. They had a real good chemistry. Um, you, um, you had a couple of injuries in the game. You had Walker that's out with a knee injury. And then the Steelers, and then you had the Browns in that fourth quarter. They was really surprising that Steelers defense, and then Kobe, and then it ended 17-29 to the Browns, and a good win for the Browns. Then we go on to the Sunday games. The early Sunday games with the Ravens versus the Patriots, and the Ravens won 37-26. Really good Ravens performance. It was a third and goal in the first from Andrews to make it 7-0 in the first. Then a field goal to make it 7-3 to the Patriots in the first. Then Mac Jones touchdown make it 7-10. But Mac Jones did come off injured in the game. He had like a little knee injury or maybe ankle injury. I'm not too sure about that, but he was injured during the game. But he made it 7-10 in the second, and then Andrews got his second touchdown of the game, to make it 14-10, and then Fork had a field goal to make it 14-13, and in the second half with 14-13. Then we go into end in the first half 14-13. Then we go into the second half of the game. Damian Morris with a touchdown to make it 14-20 to the Patriots. Then a third touchdown of three rushing touchdowns for Lamar Chase. Lamar Chase had a really good game. Jordan Oliver had a first and goal touchdown to make it 21-20, and then touchdown by Stevenson in his fourth to make it 31-26. Then Jackson made it 37-26, and the Ravens get the win. And then the Ravens had 8 turnovers in the game. Then we have the Saints versus the Panthers. Panthers get their first win of the season, 14-22. Then we have the Bengals versus the Jets. The Bengals did not let me down. I don't know who the hell was watching that picks video I did at the weekend, but somebody in the Bengals front office may have watched my video. For the past 2 weeks, I've been having bad luck with the Bengals on my spread and picking them, but this week they came through, and they won 27-12. You have a touchdown by Perrine in the first, make 7-0 in the first. Zoline field goal to get the Jets back in the game, 7-3 in the first, then 7-6 in the first. Touchdown by Boyd to make it 14-6. McPherson 17-6 in the second, and then McPherson again to make it 20-6 and 20-9 in the second. Third and goal by Jamar Chase to make it 27-9, and then Zurich field goal again to make it 27-12 to the Bengals. Then we have the Bills versus the Dolphins. Now this was a really shocking game. I'm really loving what Mike McDaniel and the mindset he's bringing to the Dolphins. If this was the Dolphins over that damn idiot Brian Flores, they would have lost this game. But I like the mentality that he's bringing to this Dolphins team. Tua had a good game last week. He had a pretty good game this week as well. And like I said in the offseason, I'm excited to see the Dolphins this season. Like, this could be a potential playoff team. Now again, they're not ready to contend for a championship, far from it, but if they're just contending for a playoff place and challenge in the offseason, then that's good for them. That's again great development. But again, against the Bills, it was an impressive win. You had fourth and goal by Singletary to make 7-0 in the first to the Bills. Then Edmund makes it 7-7 with 7-7 in the first. Then a third and goal to McKenzie to make it 14-7 in the second. Touchdown in the second by Kraft to make it 14-14. Field goal in the third to make it 17-14. Then Edmund had 2 touchdowns again to make it 17-21. And then it was 19-21, and the Dolphins get the win. Then we have the Eagles versus the Commanders. An easy day for the Eagles. They just destroyed the Commanders. Elliott had a field goal to make it 3-0 in the second. Then it was 10-0 in the second, and then Brown. It was 3rd and 8, and then Brown touchdown to make it 17-0 in the second. It was 24-0 at halftime, and then the Commanders got back in the game to make 24-8. But a good win for Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. And then the next game next week is against the Jags. Former head coach who got them in the Super Bowl, Doug Pearson. Very interesting game next week. How is he going to be reacting when he comes back to Philly? But who knows. Then we have the Raiders versus the Titans. The Titans got the first win of the season with a 22-24. And I want to say this. Start Malik Willis as starting quarterback. Now, you've done so much. With this whole thing with Ryan Tannehill, he's reached his ceiling in Tennessee. Let's start the young quarterback in Malik Willis and see what you have. You could win 6 or 7 games, and maybe not make the playoffs, but at least you can see what you have with a Malik Willis. With a Ryan Tannehill, you've gone so far as you can. Like, you got to the playoffs last year. Again, let's see what Malik Willis has at the NFL level. Let's see if he's the dude or not, because again, you've drafted this guy. I know you've drafted really late in the draft, seeing how talented he was in the college game. But let's see what he has. You've got to do better than what you have with Ryan Tannehill. And let's be honest, Titan fans, Ryan Tannehill's time is over. So again, 22-24 to the Titans, and they get the first win of the season. Then we had the Chiefs versus the Colts, and then this was I didn't even see this coming. The Colts win by 17-20 with their first win of the season. You had I remember one play call when it was, I think it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter of the game, when the Chiefs have a field goal and then they have they fake it. But again, the Colts I'm like, what the fuck? That was like the stupid play call they did. Ultimately, that cost them the game. And then the Colts got their first win of the season. But again, they go like in the 3rd or 4th quarter of the game. They're going to go for a field goal. But again, they fake it. Then ultimately, they should have just stuck with a field goal. And they may have won the game. Then we had the Texans versus the Bears. It was Bears football. Lovie Smith is back in Chicago. And I want to talk about Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy, the offensive core in Chicago. What the hell is he doing with Justin Fields? Justin Fields has been looking bad for the past 3 weeks. 3 weeks, Justin Fields looked bad because all these play calls you're doing. You have in the 3rd and 10. In one of the play calls in 3rd and 10, you went for a draw, going for a field goal. You went for in the third. You had 3rd and 10 when the Bears were in possession, and then you have them going for a field goal. So they're going for a touchdown, for God's sake. They ultimately get the win to make it 20-23. Sent us with a field goal in the 4th. Again, it was typical Bears football, Bear mindset and Bear mentality. But yeah, and Justin Fields looked bad. He did. Again, you look at that offensive line, it needs a lot of work. And it doesn't help when Luke he's doing all this stupid play calling, and he's way over his head. Then we have the Jags versus the Chargers. Again, the Jags looked really good in this game, 38-10. The Chargers, I know that Justin Herbert was injured, so again, they didn't have the starting quarterback. But they should have still won this game. They still had a lot of great talent on the roster, Khalil Mack and so forth. So I was really shocked about that. And then Doug Pearson, he's done pretty well with the Jags, even though the Jags are still a dumpster fire and they still don't have the weapons around Trevor Lawrence. He's doing the best he can of what he's doing it the best he can out of a really shitty situation, and I'm really impressed with what he's doing in Jacksonville. So good win for them. Then we had the Falcons versus the Seahawks. Again, the Falcons win 27-23. This game was then we had the Packers versus the Bucks, 14-12. The Packers. You had suck up with a field goal to make it 14-6, and a third and goal by Gage Jr. to make it 14-12, and the Packers get the win. Then we go to the Rams and Cardinals. The Rams win 20-12. Fourth and goal to make it 3-0 in the first. Cup has a field. Cup with a touchdown to make it 10-0 in the first. Gage to make it 13-0 in the second. 13-3 in the second, and then 13-6 in the second. Prior field goal to make it 13-9. Then second and 4. Ikers to make it 20-9, and then prior field goal to make it 20-12. Then we had the 49ers versus the Broncos, and the Daniel Hicks didn't fuck up this time. He actually won a game on prime time. They gave him the fucking prime time spot, and Nathaniel Hacks actually won a game on prime time. It was 49ers 10, Broncos 11, and the second win of the season for the Broncos. Then we had the Giants versus the Cowboys tonight's game. We had two backup quarterbacks, Danny Dimes, and we had Cooper Rush, who again, Dak Prescott was injured, so Cooper Rush stepped in. We had it was 3-0 to the Giants in the first, and 3-3 with the Cowboys in the second. 6-3, 6-6 in the third. Then Barkley had a touchdown to make it 6-12 and 6-13. Then Elliott touchdown to make 12-13, and then 16-23. But I want to talk about Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, even though he lost tonight, he put up a good show tonight, and even the last couple of games. But what I'm liking about this Giants team, even though that they still need a lot of work, they have Evan Neal, but they have Kenny Golladay, but they still need a lot of work. Quarterback position definitely needs to be addressed. The quarterback position next year. You need to address the quarterback position, because Danny Jones is not a starting quarterback. It should be. There's a lot of better quarterbacks out there that you can have as your starting quarterback. Danny Dimes is not your quarterback. He's not going to be the guy that's going to get you to the playoffs. He's a good secondary quarterback at best. But what I'm liking about this team is that the team's buying into Brian Daboll's shit. And I'm liking what he's getting out of this team. It reminds me of Dan Campbell, what he did last year with Detroit. Like and he still has kind of a shit roster, but he's getting the best out of what he can right now. And then in year 2, you're hoping that the front office is going to get him a quarterback. And then you can build from that. And then you can get better weapons on the wide receiver. You've still got a good offensive tackle in Evan Neal, who you got in this year's draft. Keep building from that, and you could have something with Brian Daboll. It's early days still. Again, it's early on in the season, but what I've seen, the return so far, is he's getting the best out of what he can. So leave your guys' thoughts on this week's NFL recap in the comments. Peace.